This week's sponsor is Anchor.fm. In our experience as podcasters, Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. They have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great, and they'll distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. If you're interested in monetizing your podcast, Anchor sets you up with sponsors with no minimum listenership. What could be easier than that? Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Welcome to the all-new Plus Ultra podcast. This used to be the Change of Reason podcast, but due to popular demand, we are switching over and going to do primarily a My Hero Academia podcast. The plus has double meaning in this case because we are going to, every once in a while, when Autumn wants to, we're going to talk about other anime as well. So I'm your host, DJ Grand, and with me is my co-host, Autumn.
Hi.
And our bonsai producer, Ryan.
Plus Ultra.
There you go. And we're here at the Bonsai Bunker, the maskless Bonsai Bunker.
Well, we have our hero masks on, so
Yeah,
we're
okay.
kind of playing by the rules.
I just like being the rebel. Isn't that what some of these characters are?
Yeah, heroes are rebels in a way.
So, why a My Hero Academia podcast? Well, we did a couple episodes of My Hero and the Change of Reason podcast, and they are by far our most listened to podcast. I mean, I think the original My Hero episode we did has over 360 listens, and my number 2 is the one we did with was Heroes Rising, right? That was the one we did.
I think so.
Yeah. So that's the reason we're listening to the audience. The audience seems to want My Hero, so that's what we're going to do. Like I said, we will be going over other anime at Autumn's discretion. She's the anime expert in my house, so when she says we'll do it, I mean, for instance, I would love to talk about Full Metal Alchemist if we ever get a chance to. And that is absolutely my favorite.
That's a good one.
Ryan can also put his 2 cents in, and we can talk about one he likes too.
Oh, really? Yeah, I'm pretty glad. No,
As long as it's not Devil May Cry Baby.
Oh, no. On another podcast, we'll talk about it.
I'm just teasing. But anyways, what my idea right now is that we're going to dissect it episode by episode. We may change that, but that looks like the way we're going to go. Next episode, we may do 1 or 2, go way back to season 1 and just start and talk about each one, and then till we can catch up, and hopefully we'll be caught up by the time the next season comes out. Or would that be season 5?
Yeah.
All right. So I guess we can just get right into it, and let's ask what your favorite amateur hero is first. Let's start with that. Autumn.
Bakugo.
And why?
I don't know. I don't know. Usually I like characters kind of with the personality he has, like the...
Oh, you mean attitude?
Sure. Well, I usually like those type of characters, like Inosuke from Demon Slayer is kind of the same thing. Like, he's my favorite, so...
What's the appeal to Bakugo, though? Why?
I don't know. I used to like Todoroki, and then after, I think it was like when he got kidnapped in the 3rd season, I was like, oh, nope, I like that one.
I will say it's admirable that he didn't fall to their scheme, but he's still a bully. And there's my biggest problem with Bakugo. He's a bully. And until he atones for what he's done to Midoriya, he can't be number 1 in my eye. I mean, you're right to your opinion, great, but that's just why I just can't like him as much as my favorite. How about you, Ryan? What's your favorite amateur hero?
I was thinking about this too, and it changes a lot, especially from I guess the first time I've like watched this, but Midoriya's story is really like, I like where it's going with him. So I think right now he's probably my favorite, just because he's the main character, and he just has a lot of development from with how the show is of him getting the powers of All Might and starting from scratch, where everyone's had this basically lifelong trait of whatever quirk they have, and it's just all the stuff he goes through. And usually anytime he's obviously facing against like a big bad or whatever enemy it is at the point of the story, it's always usually the best part too. And again, the rivalry with like Deku and Bakugo is really cool too. I always like that in anime when there's the protagonist and the rival, and they're like best friends but not really.
He's sort of like Bakugo. I'm talking about the dynamic between Bakugo and Midoriya. He's kind of like a good nemesis.
Yeah.
To where he's not really a true nemesis where he's against him.
Yeah.
But he's still a little bit. He's like you said, a rival. I guess that's the best way to describe him.
They are teammates, because he doesn't want to like kill him.
No. Well, he wants to beat him.
He wants to beat him. Yeah, it's maybe not a healthy rivalry in the end, but I mean, especially now where the story is, they've obviously had a lot of fights and stuff, but it's like with Bakugo, he's realizing so much that his anger's getting the best of him in a lot of ways, and he's kind of fallen behind with it too. So with Midoriya always lending a hand, trying to keep him with the group and keep him with everybody and on the good side of things, it's it's cool because he's not really forcing it, where Bakugo is doing so much effort, where it's like if he just turn that to a better way, he'd just make life so much easier.
Yes, he would. My favorite is Todoroki, but a close second would be Midoriya. And the reason I think he's a close second is, like me, he's a hero worshiper. And that's part of what I think why he puts up with Bakugo. In a way, it's a little bit of a hero worship, because he always looked up to him when he was a young one, and then he really looked up to All Might. So, and then that hero worship makes Midoriya's character really appealing to me. My favorite, like I said, is Todoroki, because he's both cool and how he acts, and then I mean it's perfect with his quirk.
Yeah.
I mean the ice and the heat, because he's hot when it comes to his dad, Endeavor. So I mean you really get both those dynamics playing with each other, and I really like that. Maybe in the same way he lets his anger get to him, like he did in he caused him to fall behind, same as with Bakugo, and he had to do the little extra. What was that? What he had to do extra?
He had to do the redemptional provisional license.
Yes, the provisional license. Yes, so that kind of, had he not let it, and it wasn't.
It was in Inasha and Todoroki that went.
Yeah,
and they fought during the
Yeah,
exam.
it wasn't Bakugo at that time. It was that other. Yeah, and because but didn't he have something to do with Endeavor too, though?
Yeah, because Inasha thought that he was just like his father when
Yes.
Todoroki knew he wasn't.
Yes, but the point is still valid. He let that get the best of him, and had he not done that, there's his little flaw in his character. He would have been right along with the rest of them. But I still like Todoroki. I mean, especially when you very first meet him in the series, he walks in cool in that little test and says, "Stay here." Walks in, just freezes everything, and knows he's gonna win.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just so cool. I really liked it.
Yeah, he has more inner demons and stuff with like his side. They Todoroki and like Bakugo both have like anger issues, but Todoroki has it more with like himself and his family and all that stuff that a lot of the students will never understand, because he like shuts himself out from basically, he tries to be a loner in a lot of ways, but
That's another appealing thing to me.
yeah, it's cool. I like that a lot of times they really draw that out too much with characters in animes, but he more or less kind of gets over it. Like, he doesn't totally get over it. They continue with it a little bit, but like he realizes like teamwork is important, like especially with like the Stain arc and all that. He comes to his like the other heroes' aids and stuff like that in a lot of ways, and not he actually uses his strengths, for his classmates and stuff, because he is definitely one of the best heroes, and he's not trying to like gain anything like status or anything like that. He's just trying to be,
because he's secure with himself as far as his quirk and what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's secure, at least in that aspect. I like how they bring out two different family issues, and it's both with Bakugo and with Todoroki, and their families are bringing them back, holding them back in a way, but they're two different aspects. Todoroki's is totally with his father and all that he's done with what his father did to his mother, and I think his sister, his brothers and sister too, right? Hasn't he also abused them as well?
Yeah, he neglected them.
That's a form of abuse.
And then they had to watch their sibling kind of get abused.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy with, the students don't understand that with Todoroki, and it's such a serious, heavy topic, It's crazy when they like get into that, because it's like, man, Endeavor can be a bad person.
No, absolutely. Although at the very end of the season 4, you saw a little bit more human side to him. But as far as Bakugo, his family, he's a carbon copy of his mother. I mean, you only get a little tiny glimpse of it when All Might's going around getting permission
with
to
Aizawa,
what?
Him and All Might and Aizawa go around and ask all the families if they can move into the dorms. And then
yes, and you see that Bakugo is a carbon copy of his mother. I mean, they're exactly the same as far as they just yell.
Yeah.
I mean, so my point is, you got two family issues there, and they're both different, but they both impact the character of each respective one. I really like how they brought that in the story, and they didn't dwell on it. It's show, don't tell type of thing, where they showed it, I like that. That's kind of good writing to me. So what about your favorite pro hero, Autumn?
Hawks, 100%.
And why Hawks? Why Featherman?
I like how he is and his personality, because he comes off as like comedic and goofy, but he's actually like really like observant and smart, and he knows what he's doing. So
I hate playing against him in that game. Oh my! He's the only one. I always play with Todoroki. He's the only one I have trouble with. I mean, I usually take her down with anybody, but when she picked up Hawks, oh my gosh! Because like Todoroki, he fights at a distance, and the only way to win with Todoroki, you can't let him in close. It's just like Choi Kwon-do. You don't let him in.
Yeah.
And but Hawks, he can stay away, and then he flies really quick, and he can hurt you. And wow, it's really difficult to beat him. So I guess there's my problem with Hawks. But,
that's him being a pro hero from an amateur. So
that's true too. See, it's like you should have like a golf handicap when you play that. You really should, because they're amateurs versus pro. I never thought of that. That's a good point, Ryan.
Yeah.
How about you, Ryan? What's your favorite pro?
There's a lot of cool ones, and I would probably default to All Might, but I almost forget a lot of the other ones' names. Like, what's like the cowboy one who has you see him in Snipe? He's really cool, but I more or less just like how he looks and all that. Like, he does. I think he's in like 2 quick parts in all the show so far, but the one lady who like turns into a dragon, I thought she was really cool. I forgot her name, but I think
it's Ryuku.
It's what?
Ryuku.
It's like the only thing I really liked about her is because it was in the 4th season, or like towards the end of, or whichever part that was, where they're fighting the Yakuza people and stuff like that, and like you don't know what her power is. She just has this like scar like thing on her eye or something like that, and when she fights one of the enemies, she just turns into a giant dragon. I'm like, what kind of quirk is that?
It's a cool quirk.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
Quirk,
and it just comes out of nowhere, because they like didn't show you any like preview of what it could be.
No backstory for her.
Yeah, and it's like you just know she was a top hero or pro hero. But I mean, I guess in the overall story, I just really like All Might, and it's funny because I like All Might more as his more like weaker form, because he's just the wise old weak hero that has this handicap to him. But especially in the beginning when he could go into All Might and all that stuff. It's just really cool, and he just has so much to his story too, with training Deku and all that stuff. So
it's a legitimate what you say, but I kind of like All Might when he was the big boy. I mean, because
that's
hero.
like the ultimate.
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly. And it's kind of, for me, it was kind of like disappointing watching him have to retire because I mean, you wouldn't want to watch Superman retire. He is Superman, by the way.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't want to watch him retire. So that kind of
isn't a true hero up here. It's not the raw, right? Anybody can be strong and whatever, and can do the plus ultra punch or Detroit Smash.
See, here comes philosophy. You need body and mind.
Yeah.
You can't be just one.
But
he's been reduced to all mind, and that's great. I mean, it's admirable, and the fact that he's trying to pass down what he knows to the next generation is great.
Yeah.
But still, to be a true hero, you need both body and mind, and that's kind of how he backs out of not. I mean, he would also be my default number one too, but I also like Eraserhead.
Yeah,
I kind of like his attitude.
Really cool.
He comes off as like a mean teacher in the beginning, but he actually shows that he actually cares about his students. And
totally. Almost too much,
Yeah, so then that's kind of like, and he looks like such a stoner. He's always sleeping.
Yeah.
I mean, he truly does.
Yeah.
I mean,
the red eyes and everything.
Exactly.
So.
He comes off to me as such a stoner. So, but I like him. I like him a lot, and it would be a close 1 and 2 between those two.
And it's kind of funny with the Eraserhead because his power is to nullify quirks, but I mean, he uses his sash and whatever, his bandages, I guess, or whatever it's called. But it's like that's not even his power, but that's mostly what he uses to fight with and stuff. Because his quirk is very overpowered almost, but it's just it's not all in his arsenal. So I think that's cool.
Well, since you bring up his sashes or his bandage, it kind of looks like a mummy.
Yeah.
And then when he's in his sleeping bag, he really pulls off the mummy look. So he goes for it all the way.
Yeah, that lazy kind of badass is always a cool trope and stuff, where you're like, oh, he looks just like a burnout, but he's secretly one of the strongest people ever,
And always trying to get sleep at school. That's awesome.
While teaching.
That's the way to work. I mean, if you're going to do it, might as well get your naps in while you get paid for it. So
I know why he's always tired.
Why is he always tired?
Apparently, because there's hero journals, they have books of they remade Deku's journal or whatever, and they made it with info.
Is this outside the anime? Is
it's
this something?
An actual book you can get.
Okay.
And everyone was reading it and then posting it online and stuff. And apparently they came up with teachers' report cards and how many days they've missed, how many all that stuff. He's missed 0 days at all in his entire career. And the reason why he's so tired is because he's also a pro hero. So at night he goes out and is a pro hero.
I see.
So he doesn't get any sleep.
He's moonlighting.
Yeah, he's constantly working. Yeah.
He just doesn't stop.
Well, good for him. See, another reason it's more to admire him. He works 2 jobs.
Yeah. I know you just think he's lazy, but he's actually, just a workaholic.
Oh, I don't think he's lazy at all. I just think he does come off that way, I guess, but I don't think he is.
Yeah, Eraserhead's really great, good character.
I don't like evil. However, do you guys have any favorite bad guys?
Dobby.
And why?
I don't know. I like his power. I like the scars and stuff.
And Dobby is a so-called Todoroki brother?
People think, they theorize that he's going to be the eldest Todoroki.
Which one is that again? I forgot which one.
He looks like he's got scars all over his face.
Yeah.
And
all right,
yeah.
With the weird flame.
Yeah, he has the blue flame.
Like blue,
Yeah, it's like a different kind.
And everyone thinks he's going to be the eldest Todoroki because,
he's just
the eldest.
Looking.
Yeah.
Well, and he does have flame, and that would come from Endeavor, and the mother could. It's a cold fire, which is actually blue is the hotter.
Yeah, it's the hottest one.
But still, it would make sense if you tried to piece it together. I truly don't know if it is, but it would make sense.
Yeah, people have said they've tried to put together theories the whole why his skin's that way because they're obviously burn marks. So it's if he was the eldest Todoroki son, then he would be the first experiment to Endeavor's.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't handle the flames.
Okay, let me get this straight. You don't like Todoroki #1, but you like the bad version #1. Why is
The
that?
zombie version.
I don't know. I like Todoroki.
But you don't like him better than Bakugo, so I'm just teasing you. I like the fact that you have your own opinion. How about you, Ryan? Do you have any favorites?
Yeah, the villains are just as good as a lot of especially like the look wise and like how they are. There's like so many of them too. I like Muscular. I think that was his name.
Yeah.
But
Was that the one Midoriya takes
Yeah.
at the
on
cave?
cliff,
Yeah, okay.
I mean, he was
with
like
the little
a
boy.
terrible person. Like he's definitely like a bad guy, but I just liked his whole fight with him. Like it was a really cool, like his powers really cool too. And I mean, I guess I would probably pick for like the story is the main guy with the hands and stuff.
Shigaraki.
Yeah, he's really cool because like, he still hasn't really like fought.
He's
too.
creepy.
Yeah, he's very creepy.
Yeah.
He looks like Eraserhead, but like on death's door. You know?
Yes.
It's like, and I think his whole mask thing's really cool, like the way he looks and all that. And again, like his power is like decay, which is pretty intense for like a bad guy. And the whole thing with him trying to be all for one's, like protege and all that's really cool too. It's kind of like the bad side if it's Deku and All Might.
Isn't he like all for one's like best number, like his next of kin, if you will?
Yeah,
his next...
It's like Anakin and the Emperor.
Yeah,
almost,
yeah. The Padawan.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
How about you, DJ?
I don't know his name. Who's the guy who fought? I think it was, and I'm going to say the way it should be, Kuroshima. And
Facum.
I see. Is that he's the one who said it? Come on back when you're strong again. I want
Is
to.
he like big?
Yes, he's huge.
That's
Yes.
Rappa.
Yeah. Okay. I kind of like him because of the fact that he wanted to take someone on at the best they could be. I mean, even though he's a bad guy, that at least is admirable. Okay. So if I had to pick a favorite, it would be him. But I'm really not into really bad guys. I did like Stain.
I was gonna say, I think we left him out. He's definitely one of the best ones.
Yeah, I did like it, at least his dynamic. Once again, I got a problem rooting for bad guys, and
that's the whole point of them.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess those would be my two if you had to narrow it down. Did you guys find any flaws at all with the anime My Hero? I mean, it can't be perfect. So, are there? You guys have any? How about you, Autumn? Can you think of anything that really disappoints you about it?
I don't know.
Is it all positive to you? It's okay.
I don't know.
It's okay. Maybe you haven't thought of it yet.
I don't know. Like, I like it more for its characters. Like the plot, I like the plot, but I like the characters a lot more and like the dynamics. Like I like Bakugo's and Deku's dynamic. I like Bakugo and Todoroki's dynamic. I like the characters more. I don't know. I guess like having those characters kind of be with each other again, just more of that instead of just like fight, just kind of, have a nice relaxing time with just some friends or something.
How about you, Ryan? You've any flaws?
I mean, it's not I mean, I guess they are flaws, but just, I've watched so many anime and it is a typical shonen anime where I like a lot of the actual hero stuff, like, like the Stain arc and, in the beginning with it's anytime it's actually the villains and stuff is where I get really interested in the show. And when it goes to a lot of the school stuff, which is a big part of the story, that kind of just bores me after a while. Like the whole, like all the tournaments and like, I know they're necessary. They need to be in there, but those are like the things that I'm like, I've seen this 1,000 times and it is, it's just necessary and it needs to be, and it is funny and it's more lighthearted. And there are really cool, points to them as well. Like Bakugo and the Gravity Girl, like that was a really cool fight that you didn't think you would ever see since they're just so differently matched. But I just get so bored with all those. It's like training at the school or like going to class and all that. It's like when they had the rock band, it's like, you know, but again, that's like anime. So it's not, that happens with so many other types of anime. It's not just My Hero, but, and again, that My Hero is going to be a very long show. So that kind of takes me out of it too, where it's like, I know I'm going to be waiting for probably 10 seasons of this. So it's hard to get amped up to the next thing, because I'm like, well, it's not going to wrap up. So
Well, not anytime soon anyways.
yeah.
You kind of touched on what my problem with it is. Heroes Rising, that was the last movie that came out, correct?
Yes.
In that, did you see Heroes
didn't
Rising
see
yet?
it, no.
I'm sorry, but in the beginning of Heroes Rising, and I see this more than just in that movie, but this is just a good example of it, to where it just starts out so slow,
Yeah.
and then it picks up great at the end, and I just like the stories that are going from the beginning. You don't have to do all this legwork that during when I watched the movie, I almost fell asleep. It was that slow.
Yeah.
And that happens, like you said, with the musical tournament. That was kind of slow
It's all
too.
the fluff, it's
Yeah.
like filler stuff, which they all do, and it's just, it always hinders an anime, and it is obviously for a younger audience more or less, and that's where that audience gets pulled in more. So they can't all be trying to kill each other and save the world 24/7, but
Well, yes, okay, I agree, but I like the sports festival better than the rock show.
yeah, no, totally, because the sports thing, again, it makes sense. It doesn't not fit the story. I mean, they're in school, and it's like they are learning to be heroes, so they're not out on the streets being pro heroes. So that they got to do competitions with each other, and that's cool because it is different where it isn't life or death, but they still have to fight in a more like smart way and stuff.
So speaking of that sports tournament, Autumn, you've read the manga. Do they have another sports tournament? Was that the only one?
So far, the last festival they've had is the music one, where they had the band.
So they don't, in the manga so far, there's no second, because they always talk about from last year, this year from last year.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes me think there's going to be
Well,
another one.
There could.
I think in the manga right now they're still on the first year, but I'm sure there'll be another one in the second year. Because even though watching it is it's the same thing over and over, I would kind of want to see how much they've grown,
Yeah.
And so I doubt I think Deku would get higher, and then probably Bakugo and Todoroki would get a little lower, and just have other characters grow too.
Well, that would be compelling. There's no doubt about that. But so there is no other tournament so far. And are you all caught up in the manga?
I am
As far,
caught up, yeah.
Yeah, you are?
Well, it's not really a tournament, but there is a class versus class fight.
Okay, well, that at least is something.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's cool.
And they kind of show that with the other, when they see the big three and all that stuff, and the other higher up classes and stuff meeting, the first years and all that. So
How many total years is this school?
They have 3 years.
So it's a quick high school. So they combine freshman and sophomore, and then you have junior and senior year. I mean, how does that work?
I guess that's just how Japanese.
I'm not
No,
sure.
is this a Japanese
yeah,
thing?
it's
Is
a
it really?
Japanese thing, yeah.
They only
I
have 3
always
years
thought-
of high school? Good
Yeah.
for them.
But I think they go
I think they
all
go
year
one-
though.
yeah, I think
they
so.
go they don't get summer breaks and all that stuff. So
Education's good. Good for them.
well, and again, if I was in a UA school, I think it'd be a lot more fun than just hitting the books and all that. But,
If you had to be there, I mean, if the way they do it in the dorm thing,
yeah.
I mean,
it's
eventually,
like college.
yeah, you're gonna have to do some studying. So, okay, so is that it? No more shortcomings? Where
I think where it takes and it's again, this is just a pacing issue too, where they show it just takes long for a lot of characters. You want to know their backstory or stuff like that, because they sometimes bring light to certain people's, like, Todoroki or like Bakugo, or even like Bakugo Midoriya and all these things, and they'll show it for maybe one part of a season, and maybe they'll conclude it depending on if it's part of that season. But sometimes they'll just be like, well, you got to sit with that for a couple seasons, and you're like, what it's like, when are we going to come back to that character's thing? If
they
it's
do
your
have
favorite
a boatload of
character.
characters.
I know, that's where they kind of shoot themselves in the foot with a lot of anime do this as well, because it's hard, and Midoriya is the main character, so they gotta kind of
should be focused on him.
Yeah.
It should be.
But it's there's so many likable people, and when they do show things like that, you're like, when are we gonna find out more of that, or if they are gonna do that? Sometimes they don't, so you might be kind of at a loss with that.
Do you have a favorite quirk?
I like. Okay, so remember his name's Monoma, but you remember. I know you're not gonna know him, but he's the guy in Class 1B that kind of antagonized Bakugo.
Where's that hat?
No, he's blonde.
Oh, okay, that's a different dude. Then,
and he at the sports festival when they were doing the cavalry battle. What is it? Whatever. When they were on like the horses of the people.
Okay. Yeah.
That was almost like I call that a cavalry battle.
And then he was the one that went up to Bakugo and took his headbands and just kept taking them and just antagonizing him. His quirks copy. He can touch them and just take their quirks.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that guy.
Yeah.
So that's like the only time he's in it, right?
Yeah. So far,
yeah.
He should be promoted.
Yeah, see, it's like, where'd that guy go?
Yeah.
It's like...
No, you have a good point. They need to flush his character out. How about you, Ryan? What's your favorite quirk?
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones. I would have to say, I like, what's the one girl's name that, like, can make stuff? Like, she...
Yarurozu.
Yeah, hers is really cool because she's basically like an alchemist, so that's why I think of her power in a cool way, that she basically is doing what like Edward would do, except she doesn't have to do transmutation circles and stuff or clap her hands, I guess.
Edward in Full Metal.
Yes. And what's the one, I guess it's kind of like the copy thing, the villain, the Skull villain, I forgot his name too, but he basically can like copy himself, like he can make clones of himself.
Oh, Twice?
Yeah, Twice. It's right there. Yeah. And actually, I wanted to bring up one more pro hero that I forgot. That's one of my favorites, and his power is really cool. Is Fat Gum. He's awesome. So, and I love
he's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
He's probably my third.
And I thought his fight too, where you saw like him go all out, and his actual, because he basically has like full shield or something like that. It's like the ultimate shield or something like that, and that he's actually like super strong on the inside and stuff like that, and kind of has like the whole one punch thing.
He should get an endorsement from Weight Watchers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he can throw down. So.
No, he can. I like Lemillian. Mm-hmm. He's kind of unfair. I mean, you could throw a shoulder out, you go to punch him, and he turns invisible on you.
Yeah.
I mean, that sort of unfair. But my favorite, I guess, it's combo. It's All Might, of course. Everything, the most powerful. But I do like Eraserhead.
Yeah,
I do like what he can do.
Great. I mean, but again, if you were if you had a quirk in a quirkless world, like if you had that power, it'd just basically be useless. You'd have to be in My Hero's world.
No, in a quirkless world, well, then he wouldn't have a quirk because
I'm just saying,
quirkless.
if you like
I get your point. It'd be useless if he was the only one with a quirk.
If
he
I
wouldn't
could
be able
have
to do
one power from My Hero, I'd want to be Eraserhead, which is why I'm like, is that a power that he can just move his scarf around?
If you want to talk about a good quirk, it's all for one. Or is it one for all? The one all for one. The one he can take and become anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really cool. If you can do that for good, I mean, that would be a really, really good quirk to have. So, I mean, but I can't like it because he's a bad guy. I just can't root for bad guys.
I like Engine Legs. What's his name?
Ida?
I call him Motor Calf.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, because that'd be cool, and he's a cool character too. And I like his whole like power suit and stuff like that. He looks like a Power Ranger or something like that.
Yeah, no, he's a good guy too. A little intense.
Yes, yeah.
But he's
class
a good
president,
guy.
So.
Yes. Okay, so let's move on to our last bit. Autumn watched some Funimation Virtual Comic Con, and let's talk about that for a little bit. First, within the Q&A session, how was that?
Yeah.
What was it, and how was it?
It was basically like it was like they had a bunch of the voice actors go on like the call, and there was an interviewer, and she just kind of asked them all kind of the same questions. I think it was like Eraserhead's voice actor, Hawks, Deku, Bakugo.
And what was the question she asked
There
them?
were like a couple questions, but they were like if you could, I think one of them was like if you could like have like a lunch date or just like go out with some character, who would it be? And I don't know, a lot of them picked like really the bubbly ones, and I think like there was one
Well, does it have to be okay? If you're a guy, does it have to be you're dating a girl?
No,
Is this
like,
what it's supposed to be?
It wasn't a date. It was just more like you want to have like lunch
Just
with
the
them,
lunch,
just,
okay.
like, hang out
Okay.
with them, and like a lot of them said like the nice ones, and I think only one of them said like Hawks, and I think one of them said a villain, and you're like, okay.
Yeah. So, whoa.
All right. So who'd you go on a dinner outing with or lunch outing with?
I don't know. I probably Hawks, or probably like Kirishima or something,
Why Kirishima?
because he's nice.
He would pay for them.
He would pay for the food.
There's the reason to go. How about you, Ryan?
That's a good one. Probably the mountain lady. I think. I don't know. I think she'd be just cool to talk to, and I'd be like, yeah, go, be a building or something like that. But, yeah, I think those. It's funny when you see the voice actors of the show, and and when they like talk to them and they like make them go into like their characters and stuff like that. It's really cool, and that all these. I would have to look into like the actual voice actors and stuff. That most of these people do all types of animes. Like it's just funny when you can see like their resume of what they do, and you're like, that person's that guy. Or
Yeah,
that
I do that
person.
all the
Yeah.
time,
and it's just like funny how you're like, I had no idea that whoever's voice is like All Might's voice is in a bunch of stuff
Yeah,
too. And
he's
Autumn was just
Vegeta.
telling me about
okay,
Midoriya
there you go,
being a bad guy
I was
and a different.
watching, Fire Force, and
Okay.
he's one of the villains, and it's
all
really
right.
weird.
Yeah, I know, and that's it's always my favorite thing. It never gets old when you pick a voice actor in any anime and you just see where they all do, because most of them never really do one. You
Yeah.
always think it's
You
that.
gotta get paid. You gotta make the
Yeah.
buck. So
But it's always cool too, because usually the characters are so different, and you're like, sometimes they do play like the same type of role and stuff like that. Like they're like the timid one or the over enthusiastic one or something like that. But this is a different anime. But have you seen any of the videos of the Demon Slayer when they the guy that plays the blonde haired dude, the
Zenitsu?
yeah, like he like screams and
Yeah,
like, he has that-
yeah, I've seen those.
There's like all these interviews with him, and like everybody that interviews this guy just makes him do this like shriek he does in the show, because he's like this scaredy cat, but he's like a badass. But it's like he has this ear piercing
scared,
scream,
yeah.
and it's just so funny because he's like this little Asian guy, and he just like blows out these microphones when they're like, do the thing, It's like so funny because when he does it, he just
I
gets
felt
like
sorry
so
for him.
into
After a
it.
while, I became sick of it. You guys can't come
Yeah.
up with something original.
Yeah,
But
he loves it.
yeah,
so.
he seems like he likes
Well,
it.
Yeah, he gets
Yeah.
really into it.
Well,
so.
good for him. Must keep the paychecks going
Yeah.
too. So what about the sports tournament?
I pulled up a list. Okay, so it was they did it kind of only like the main fights of the show. They didn't just pick like random two and did it. They did like actually main fights. So they got the voice actor of Deku and the voice actor of Muscular to go at each other.
Well, this
That's
is
cool.
playing the game.
video game,
The-
yeah, the
the-
most recent one.
What's that name? One's Heroes Justice.
My Heroes One's Justice.
My
2,
Heroes
the
One's
second one.
Justice, which doesn't make sense to me. But so okay, now go on. No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Well, the voice actor Deku just wiped the floor with that.
Really?
guy. Just wiped
That'd be
the
funny if it was
floor.
the other way, though.
Yeah, it just wiped the floor. Like the whole thing was like, are you gonna change how the show is? Like the villain could win,
Yeah.
And then it was Facum and Rappa, which is the one you like.
Okay.
And
Who
then
won?
I think it was Rappa, which I understandably so,
Yeah.
because he's like, if you don't know how to play Facum, he's really hard. And then it was Mirio and Overhaul. That one was fun because they're actually friends.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
So they would just like insult each other the
Yeah.
whole time. And I think it was like really close, that one. I think Mirio won though, which was interesting.
That's how it should be. Damn right.
Did any of them like have absolute no idea how to play the game?
A couple of them, but
That's the
a lot
best.
of them were just like, they
You would
were
think, though, they
grinding
were
the game.
told that you're going to play this, so start practicing.
Oh, they were. That's
Yeah, but
some
that'd
of
be
them
funny
really
though, where it was like,
practiced.
I've never played this game.
Yeah.
They're like just button mashing.
And
Someone who
then-
doesn't play video games and then has to
Yeah.
play, yeah.
And then after that one was the one I was excited for, which was Deku versus Bakugo.
Oh, okay, cool.
And those two were they were always talking about how they were continuously playing the game. Like the guy who does Bakugo got like level 99 on Bakugo. And it was like, okay. And they got really close.
Did they stay in character voice-wise while they were
No.
playing?
No, they barely talked because they were so concentrated on the game, but it was funny.
That's funny.
And then like the first one they did like 2 rounds basically. Like the first one they got to pick like they had to do like the actual show clothes, and then the second one they got to like customize and do whatever.
Yeah.
So the first one, I think Bakugo won just because the guy who does Deku
He
did,
must have
like-
cheated.
He did the leg one
Unplug the controller.
where he uses his legs, but then he switched over to when he uses his hands and like the flick stuff, and they were like head to head the whole time.
That's cool.
But I think Deku won at the end.
Did Todoroki's character, was he on the... Did he play?
No.
Because he's the best guy.
Yeah.
And he would have
Because he
kicked ass.
doesn't
He would have
have
won.
like a strict like one-on-one fight. Like they only did like one-on-one fights. Because you could say he was in the Stain one, but that was really just Deku, Ida, and Todoroki. So you
Yeah.
could do any of them. But I didn't.
So they were trying to copy the actual
Yeah,
anime.
yeah.
Okay.
And then the next one was All Might versus All for One. That one was funny because the guy who did All for One acted like he had no idea how to play the game, and he just annihilated
That's
him.
cool.
It was really
Deceive the
funny.
bad guy.
It was really
What's
funny.
that called when they do that in pool?
What, sandbagging?
Um,
That's a version of it, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. But,
Yeah, but it was really funny. And
it's
then
not fair is what it is.
it was just they were just talking the whole time. And then the last one I think was Endeavor versus Onomu, but I didn't watch that one because it was another panel I wanted to watch.
So did you? And I think that's pretty interesting to have all those characters playing
Yeah.
that game. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
some of them got really into it.
Yeah, good for them. I would have liked to have watched that. And the last one was the game show.
Yeah, basically what they did was there was like 6 of them. I think it was Bakugo, Deku, Ashido, Mirio, the girl from the movie, like the little girl with the brother, the girl, she was there, and then I think Kaminari was there, like the lightning rod guy.
Was the girl the one that was Alphonse, or was that the
no,
little
Alphonse
boy?
was the boy.
Okay,
And then-
sorry. Go on.
And then they were all there, and basically what they had to do was the interviewer would ask a question, and the first one to raise this like plaque thing or whatever, they would get to say, and if they got it wrong, went to someone else, and if they got it right, they got a point. And everyone like put their bets on who was gonna win, and everyone said Bakugo because he's like the big fanboy of it. So they all did it, and I think Bakugo did win, but there was like Mirio got like really into it, but the guy who did Kaminari, he kept raising it and getting it on time, but he would just have the complete wrong answer, and it was really funny.
Timing was good, but not the right answer.
Yeah.
A My Hero Academia game show. That's pretty cool, actually.
It could be the episode.
Yeah, good.
I went along with it because they wouldn't say the answer. They would just do the question, so you could do it along with them. And I did it. And the only ones I got wrong were the ones that the guy who did Bakugo got wrong.
Oh, all right. So you're like on the same page
Yeah.
with them. There.
Maybe I'll have to come up with a little game show. We'll have to do that
I'll
one of
do
our
it.
There you go.
episodes. Yeah,
Yeah.
you should. Maybe we'll do that soon.
I'd have to do my homework because I'm the lore of My Hero. I'm not like the best at it, so
See, I would be at a total disadvantage. You two know so much more than me, so
Like, there were just questions like, there was one that was like, where does Bakugo's quirk come out of? And then, of course, the guy who did
his sweat
Bakugo got it.
glands.
Yeah, he was like
That's-
his.
yeah, I was
They were like his hands,
Yeah.
and then
But that's kind of not right.
Yeah.
no, but he said
Exactly.
his hands in the interview was like, but more specific, and he was like the sweat.
Yeah.
See, no. If I was playing Trivial Pursuit, and no, it's not his hands. You would get that wrong. No way would I accept that because it's not his hands.
Close
But
enough. And they only had like an hour, so.
well,
they
you
couldn't
could also
just
say
fight
his
over it.
grenades that he has on his wrist. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, it's a good concept. We should definitely try that. That's all I have for the first episode. You guys have anything you want to add before we close it out?
I don't think so.
How about you, Ryan?
I watched like some clips when I knew we were gonna do this, and there was just one funny one that I really like laughed out loud. Where I think it was the third season when they're like at that camp. Maybe it was like before it, but when they're trying to like the whole class is trying to like basically advance their powers, and they're just like supposed to like
Like
max
when
out.
Bakugo puts his hands.
Yeah,
in
and like
just
shoots it up in the air
yeah.
and stuff, and Todoroki's like in like the drum.
one,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just so funny. Like that just whole scene of them like the guy that has the jet legs and stuff. It's like he's just running everywhere.
he's just
like
going.
and they're all doing it basically in this, big area, but they're all just doing it in some weird way to like just exhaust their powers. And like the guy that has like the purple things come out of his head, he's just like
I mean, the little
burnt out.
balls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
He's
just,
got
like,
the
making
worst
a-
quirk. He truly
Yeah.
has the worst quirk there is.
It's I mean and especially in the first season he actually uses it kind of well when he like attaches all the guys when they
Yeah.
like
Do you know what it reminds me of? The Incredibles.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
He definitely has like an incredible kind of power. Like,
But you know what scene I'm talking about in The Incredibles?
Yeah, with all the
When
Mr.
those little
Incredible
black
walks
balls
in
get
and
Mr.
they just-
Incredible.
Oh
and,
yeah, yeah.
I
I mean,
okay.
that's probably
That's
the only
what
thing.
it
Yeah,
is.
it's kind of it. That's just, no, that's to me.
I mean,
I'd rather have a racer head than
I
have
mean, it took
his.
down
But,
Mr. Incredible. So.
What's that?
It took down Mr. Incredible. So
okay. Well, I saw a. I guess my last thing is I saw a YouTube thing where they were making the voice actors read different parts.
wait, where they read like other characters' lines?
Yes.
I watched
That's
that.
Yes.
It's so funny.
It is funny because everyone was trying at least to be the other character except Bakugo.
No,
He was 100% Bakugo all the time. Never
My-
changed a thing.
my
That's
favorite
great.
clip of that, I have it. It's my favorite thing the voice actor's ever done. It's they were doing that one scene where Toga, the like insane girl, goes up to Uraraka and Sue during the camp, and he's Bakugo's playing Toga, and he's just like Bakugo's voice
Yes.
saying Sue, and it's so
It's
funny.
Bakugo. He didn't change a thing.
Yeah.
But that's more funny.
No, he was
It's
trying. I think
so
he was trying to be funny. I really do, and it was good. But
Yeah.
still,
I'll have to look that up.
It
That's
was
funny.
so
no.
funny.
It actually, I don't like Bakugo, but that's what made it. That's what made it good. Is because he
Yeah.
didn't change a thing. He was Bakugo, and no
was
matter
so
what
funny.
character he was Bakugo
He was made for that role.
for every role, I guess. Yes. So, thanks for joining us. I hope you like our new format, and we'll be doing more Plus Ultra, more My Hero Academia. I guess, how should we end it? By saying
Go
Plus
beyond.
Ultra?
Go beyond. Blue soldier.
Take care. We'll see you next time.
さらに向こうへプレスウルトラ